Pregnant wife catches billionaire husband red-handed on dinner date with his mistress. In the hushed luxury of an exclusive midtown restaurant where politicians, A-list celebrities, and world-renowned moguls mingle, one table in the corner casts a shadow longer than any scandal. Billionaire entrepreneur Nathaniel Harrington, lauded for his philanthropic galas and once considered an unshakable family man, is sharing an intimate dinner with a mysterious young woman. Their hushed whispers and lingering glances suggest a secret they both desperately guard. Little do they realize that his pregnant wife, Charlotte Harrington, has arrived unannounced, her heart pounding with suspicion and dread. Tonight, silverware isn't the only thing clattering. The foundations of their marriage are about to shatter. Nathaniel Harrington's rise to power was the stuff of modern legend. Born in Boston to a middle-class family, he catapulted himself to unimaginable wealth by founding an aerospace startup that caught the attention of Elon Musk and gained backing from major venture capitalists. While still in his early 30s, he sold the company for a fortune and then reinvested in sustainable energy projects, real estate, and philanthropic endeavors. Headlines proclaimed him the golden boy of tech and charity, with photos capturing him smiling alongside Bill Gates at healthcare fundraisers or shaking hands with Prince William at environmental summits. Behind the immaculate public image stood Charlotte Harrington, his devoted wife, pregnant with their first child. She hailed from a sophisticated London family, but had embraced Nathaniel's American dream with unyielding optimism. Together, they were a power couple straight out of a society magazine, wealthy, stylish, and seemingly in love. Charlotte, graceful yet strong-minded, had turned a blind eye to the subtle shifts in Nathaniel's behavior lately. The phone calls at odd hours, the cryptic text messages that made him slip away into another room, the business dinners that dragged on until midnight. She wanted to believe his excuses, telling herself that building an empire often demanded sacrifices. But a growing doubt gnawed at her. She had been raised by parents who kept up appearances for the British high society set, only to divorce after years of quiet misery. She recognized the warning signs: emotional distance, forced smiles, hollow reassurances. Pregnancy made her more attuned to changes in her environment. Each time she felt the baby kick, she vowed to protect this new life from whatever storm might be gathering. While Nathaniel was away at meetings, Charlotte found solace in renovating the child's nursery, carefully selecting pastel paints, safe organic bedding, and plush toys. Each brushstroke on the walls calmed her nerves, as if she could paint over the cracks forming in her marriage. Yet no shade of paint could fully mask the sense that something was wrong. If a confrontation was coming, she would need proof. Sure enough, an unexpected phone call from a family friend that afternoon hinted at an unsettling rumor. Nathaniel Harrington was seen in Midtown with a glamorous brunette who was definitely not Charlotte. Heart-pounding, Charlotte resolved to find out the truth. She would never let her child be caught in a web of half-truths and deception. That evening, Charlotte slipped into a sleek black maternity dress that accentuated her softly rounded figure. She looked at herself in the mirror, forcing a half-smile. The reflection revealed a poised woman, but behind her eyes glimmered tension and heartbreak. "I won't let him see me crumble," she told herself. "Not yet." A call to her friend, Vanessa Morgan, an attorney who specialized in high-profile divorces, confirmed the rumors swirling around. According to Vanessa's contacts, Nathaniel had been making dinner reservations at exclusive spots under alias names. The pattern was consistent: high-end restaurants, private booths, lavish wine orders. A sense of betrayal mixed with dread surged through Charlotte. She had heard enough from Vanessa to suspect an affair, but she needed to see for herself. The restaurant in question tonight was Le Chambord, a place as renowned for its discreet service as for its Michelin-starred menu. Chef Gordon Ramsay had once called it an oasis of impeccable taste, while rumors claimed celebrities like Madonna and George Clooney frequented it for private rendezvous. Nathaniel had booked a table in the rear corner, near a half-draped partition that hid diners from the main hall, the perfect setting for clandestine meetings. Charlotte's driver pulled up to the entrance. She emerged, taking a moment to inhale the cool night air. Her nerves buzzed, but she forced her face into a mask of calm. Inside, low-lit chandeliers cast a warm glow on velvet chairs, cream tablecloths, and hushed patrons. A soft hum of conversation drifted across the dining room, accompanied by the clink of crystal glasses. At the reception podium, she quietly slipped the maître d'art, a substantial tip, to gain access to the back area. Her heels clicked across the polished wood floor, heartbeat pounding in her ears. She paused near a column, scanning the row of private tables. Then she saw him, Nathaniel, leaning in close to a striking brunette with elegantly curled hair and a tight-fitting red dress. A bottle of Châteauneuf-du-Pape wine chilled in a silver bucket beside them. Their body language was unmistakable, eyes locked, smiles too intimate, hands occasionally brushing. Charlotte's chest tightened. Nathaniel's wedding ring was still on his finger, glinting under the soft lights. She resisted the urge to stride straight to their table and confront them. Instead, she stepped behind a tall, decorative fern, carefully observing, phone in hand, poised to document the damning truth. She needed more than rumors if she was going to face her husband and protect her unborn child from the fallout of his duplicity. Seated across from Nathaniel was Celeste Moreau, a French-American marketing executive known within elite circles for her bold fashion sense and relentless ambition. Over the past year, she'd engineered a stellar reputation for landing major celebrity endorsements, including deals with Selena Gomez and BTS. Her charm was legendary, so was her rumored talent for manipulating powerful men. Celeste had met Nathaniel at a Silicon Valley fundraiser, where she'd been marketing director for one of the event's prime sponsors. They'd bonded over a shared interest in environmental philanthropy. He boasted about his plan to build green tech labs worldwide, while she dazzled him with her global network of brand influencers. One lavish business dinner turned into another, the conversation drifting from philanthropic strategies to personal confessions. Celeste skillfully played the sympathetic listener to Nathaniel's complaints about work stress and the pressure of impending fatherhood. Soon, texts escalated into late-night phone calls. Before long, Nathaniel invited her to discreet meetups in New York, promising to fund her upcoming marketing startup. Flattered by his attention, Celeste reveled in the clandestine nature of their association. With his handsome looks, wealth, and famous name, Nathaniel was the perfect trophy conquest. Yet Celeste didn't fully realize the magnitude of her actions until that particular evening at Le Chambord. She studied the anxious glint in Nathaniel's eyes, the way he scanned the room every time someone passed by. Deep down, she suspected the risk of exposure was higher than ever. Gossip networks across the city thrived on high-profile scandal. If someone recognized them, if they were photographed, her career would either skyrocket from infamy or implode from bad press. But Celeste's ambition overshadowed caution. She leaned forward, lightly grazing her fingertips over his wrist as she whispered, "You look worried." Her voice was as smooth as the velvet seat cushions. "You're sure we won't be recognized?" Nathaniel forced a smile, hoping to appear unruffled. Positive. The staff here valued discretion. In truth, a shiver of guilt rippled through him as he recalled Charlotte's face, how it lit up whenever they talked about their future child. But those thoughts were fleeting. Celeste's allure was potent, and the taste of danger amplified his attraction to her. From behind the decorative foliage, Charlotte clenched her phone, snapping discreet photos. Each captured frame hammered home her worst suspicion. Her husband, father of her unborn child, was here with another woman. She had to steel herself. There would be no going back after what she was about to do. Charlotte's heart thumped so violently that she worried the entire restaurant could hear it. Yet she steadied her trembling hands. She knew it was time. Le Chambord had been the stage for many private deals and hush-hush encounters, but seldom had it witnessed a confrontation like the one about to unfold. With a silent exhale, she emerged from behind the decorative fern and glided toward the table. The hush that fell over the surrounding diners signaled that her carefully chosen black maternity dress and resolute posture commanded attention. As she approached, Nathaniel looked up. The horror in his eyes was instant, mirroring the dread she had carried for weeks. He stood, knocking over his half-finished glass of wine in the process. Celeste's eyes widened, and she tried to regain her composure by adjusting the strap of her red dress. Neither could conceal their guilt. Charlotte's voice was low, but trembled with emotion. "May I join you for dinner?" The question was rhetorical. She pulled a vacant chair from a nearby table and placed it at their side. Her gaze locked on Nathaniel. The restaurant was now impossibly quiet, like the calm before a storm. Nathaniel swallowed, struggling to find words. "Charlotte, this isn't what it looks like." Celeste set down her fork, face paling. I should probably go." She made a move to stand, but Charlotte raised a hand, gesturing for her to remain seated. "Don't bother," Charlotte said coldly. She felt her baby shift within her, as if responding to the tension. This child deserves the truth, her mind insisted. "I've already seen enough." Nathaniel rushed to salvage some semblance of control. "Charlotte, let's go outside. We can talk, please." She shook her head, eyes glistening with tears she refused to let fall. "No, Nathaniel. We settle this here. You've humiliated me, so I have nothing to hide from these people." A few tables over, a man in a tailored suit who looked suspiciously like a tabloid journalist was discreetly lifting his phone. Charlotte suspected photos were being taken. The thought curdled her stomach, but it also emboldened her. She refused to let him spin a false narrative this time. Celeste cleared her throat, attempting a placating tone. "Listen, Miss S. Harrington, if you just let us explain." Charlotte turned to her, bristling. "Explain what?" "How the father of my unborn child ended up in a secret date with you, in a place that thrives on discretion." She stared Celeste down, unwavering. "Or how many times you've met here before." Nathaniel looked near panic, as though the entire glass structure of his life was shattering before his eyes. "Charlotte, you have every right to be angry," he murmured, "but don't do this. Not in public, please." She inhaled slowly. "Why not? You did this in public. All I'm doing is telling the truth." A hush blanketed Le Chambord, broken only by the rustle of starched linens and the faint clink of silverware from onlookers too stunned to continue dining. The tension was as tangible as the shimmering chandeliers overhead. Charlotte's voice, trembling with rage and heartbreak, lanced through the hush like a knife. Nathaniel's eyes darted to the table of a man surreptitiously filming the confrontation on his phone. PR disaster, he realized. Investors, board members, the press, they'll all see this. Despite his panic, he had never felt more trapped or powerless. Celeste tried to stand, muttering something about business dinner and misunderstanding, but Charlotte's piercing gaze held her in place. Finally, she grabbed her purse and said in a shaky voice, "I really should go." Then, with a sidelong glance at Nathaniel, she made a beeline for the exit. The elegant swish of her red dress left a trail of muted whispers in its wake. Nathaniel faced Charlotte, 1,000 apologies forming but none quite right. She saw his lips quiver. "Let's go," he insisted, voice low. "We need to talk privately." Reluctantly, she nodded, if only for the safety of her unborn child, whose presence she was acutely aware of at that moment. The last thing she wanted was to collapse from stress in a public meltdown. She rose slowly, her posture regal, chin lifted despite the tremor in her heart. Together, they walked out of the restaurant, Nathaniel shielding her from the flurry of camera flashes that erupted the instant they stepped onto the sidewalk. A barrage of paparazzi had apparently been tipped off, possibly by an attentive diner or a staff member. Cameras whirred, their shutters snapping hungrily. Questions sliced through the evening air. "Mr. Harrington, is it true you're cheating on your pregnant wife? Charlotte, how do you feel about your husband's dinner companion? Is your marriage over?" Nathaniel gritted his teeth, guiding Charlotte toward their waiting black SUV with tinted windows. Their driver, Hugh, sprang out to open the door, eyes filled with concern. Charlotte ducked into the car, trying to shield her face while her tears began to fall. A swirl of guilt, humiliation, and profound sadness clouded her vision. Even inside the vehicle, camera flashes flickered through the tinted glass, capturing every vulnerable moment. The door slammed shut, leaving the clamor of the press behind. But the damage was done. A single evening had reduced their carefully crafted public facade to a sensational headline. Now, in the hushed confines of the SUV, the real fight and heartbreak was only just beginning. The SUV glided through Manhattan's neon-lit streets, but inside, an oppressive silence weighed on them. Charlotte pressed herself against the window, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She watched the city skyline blurred by heartbreak, the lights reflecting like shards of broken glass. She couldn't bear to glance at Nathaniel. He stole fleeting looks at her, the guilt practically carved into his face. His tie felt suffocating, a reminder of how impeccably he'd dressed for a night of deception. Finally, he spoke in a low, trembling voice. "Charlotte, I'm sorry." She remained rigid, eyes fixed outside. "We're well past apologies, Nathaniel," she replied, her tone devoid of warmth. Her hand drifted protectively over her belly. "You jeopardized everything we built, everything I believed in." He inhaled, the tension in his throat making his words come out strangled. "It was a mistake, a terrible, stupid mistake. I never meant to," she rounded on him, voice quivering with suppressed fury. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or missing a dinner date. This was a series of calculated choices sneaking around, booking private tables under false names, lying to me repeatedly. That's not a mistake, Nathaniel. That's a betrayal." He had no immediate defense. The truth of her words lay stark between them, undisputable. The baby stirred within Charlotte, intensifying her turmoil. She thought of their earlier plans, the meticulously chosen wallpaper for the nursery, the cradle by the window, the name lists they debated. It all felt so trivial now. Did those things ever matter to him? As they approached their penthouse building, the doorman stood ready, but the couple inside the SUV sat in tense stillness for a moment. Nathaniel finally gathered the courage to ask, "Will you come upstairs?" Charlotte stared at him, fatigue etched in her eyes. "I live there too, or have you forgotten?" Her bitter words echoed. The SUV pulled to a stop, and Hugh quickly opened the door. Stepping out, Charlotte braced herself for more prying stares. Though the paparazzi frenzy had mostly remained at the restaurant, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her hand found the small of her back, a physical reminder of the child she must protect. As they entered the private elevator, Nathaniel stood by her side in silence. Both were dreading the next steps, the conversation that would define the future of their marriage and that of the innocent life soon to enter their chaotic world. The elevator whisked them to the top floor, opening to the grand foyer of their penthouse. Designed with marble floors, modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, the space usually felt like a testament to their success. Tonight, it felt like the stage of a Greek tragedy. Charlotte kicked off her heels near a minimalist console table, the same place where they'd once displayed pictures from their charitable galas and vacations. Now, the silence echoed with heartbreak. She turned to face Nathaniel, arms folded tightly. "Start talking," she demanded. He loosened his tie, ran a hand through his hair. It began as business," he said haltingly. "Celeste had these proposals for brand expansion and philanthropic sponsorship. We met a few times. I didn't intend to let it go further, but spare me the it just happened excuse," Charlotte snapped, tears biting at the corners of her eyes. "You're old enough to know that nothing just happens." Nathaniel nodded, eyes cast downward. "I'm not trying to justify it. I let my guard down." She was exciting. I was afraid of the changes coming with fatherhood, the responsibilities. I felt cornered, overwhelmed, and I'm sorry, truly sorry. Charlotte's lip trembled. "Overwhelmed? I'm the one carrying this baby," she retorted, voice shaking. "Did you ever think about me? About what this stress would do to my health or to our child?" Nathaniel stepped closer, a desperate plea in his eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you. I promise it's over. I'll do anything, therapy, counseling, you name it. Just don't shut me out." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "How can I believe you?" she choked, tears sliding down her cheeks. "You've lied to me for months. I'm not sure I know who you are anymore. And the baby." She trailed off, placing a protective hand on her belly. Nathaniel's voice turned frantic. "I know words aren't enough, but please, Charlotte, give me a chance to prove I can change. We can fix this. We owe it to our child." She wiped her tears, her shoulders sagging from the weight of it all. "You're right about one thing, we owe our child something. But I'm not sure if it's a marriage built on lies." She brushed past him, heading for the master bedroom. As the door closed, leaving Nathaniel alone in the penthouse living area, the immaculate artwork and skyline view only magnified his sense of remorse. The collapse of their perfect image lay in fragments at his feet, a reflection of the trust he had so carelessly shattered. The following morning, Charlotte woke early to a surge of relentless phone notifications. She glanced at the screen and groaned. Her social media feeds were exploding with rumors about last night's confrontation. Gossip columns were already running sensational headlines. Billionaire Harrington caught cheating, pregnant wife storms restaurant. Celeste Moreau, femme fatale or marketing genius. Will Charlotte Harrington forgive or file for divorce? Her phone rang. She braced herself before seeing the caller ID, Vanessa Morgan. At least it was a friendly voice. She answered, voice laden with fatigue. "Vanessa, Charlotte, are you okay?" Vanessa's tone was laced with genuine concern. "I saw the tabloids. This has escalated way faster than I expected. Paparazzi are camped outside your building." "Of course they are," Charlotte sighed, her free hand cradling her belly. "They smell blood." Vanessa cleared her throat. "Listen, I won't push you to decide anything now, but you should be prepared. If you want to initiate separation or divorce, we should gather evidence, secure finances, all that. In the meantime, protect yourself emotionally and physically." Charlotte nodded, tears threatening again. "I understand." She recalled the venomous looks in the restaurant, the phone cameras capturing her humiliating moment. Will my child grow up reading about their father's affair? The thought cut her like a blade. She found Nathaniel in the kitchen, sipping coffee, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. He managed a feeble smile. I made you tea," he offered, gesturing to a steaming mug on the counter. She eyed it warily, then sank into a chair. Tension clung to the air, as though they were strangers forced to share the same space. "You've seen the headlines, I assume," she said quietly. He nodded. "It's all over business channels too. My PR manager, Edward Vanderbilt, has been calling non-stop. Our stock prices dipped slightly this morning. Major investors like Alexander Pierce are demanding explanations." Charlotte fought a wave of bitterness. So your concern is damage control for your empire. Nathaniel set his coffee aside, rubbing his temples. I'm concerned about everything, Charlotte. I don't want to lose my business or my family. She took a shaky breath, staring into the tea. The baby kicked, a reminder of the innocent life overshadowed by scandal. And yet you risked it all for a fling, she murmured, more to herself than to him. He reached across the table, but she pulled her hand back. Outside, camera shutters clicked audibly through the windows as paparazzi jockeyed for angles. Charlotte realized that nothing in her life was private anymore. The fallout was real, and the consequences for her unborn child had only just begun. Despite the heartbreak, Charlotte agreed to meet with Nathaniel's PR manager, Edward Vanderbilt, inside the penthouse that same afternoon. Edward was a calm, middle-aged man with silver hair and a reputation for rescuing tarnished reputations. He arrived carrying a leather briefcase and wearing a polite, if strained, expression. They gathered in the penthouse living room, the curtains drawn to keep paparazzi lenses at bay. Edward cleared his throat, flipping open a sleek tablet. First, Charlotte, I want to express how sorry I am for what you're going through, he began, choosing his words carefully. This scandal affects all of us, but it's obviously most devastating to you personally. She gave a curt nod, arms folded protectively. I appreciate the concern, Mr. Vanderbilt. But let's not pretend your priority isn't salvaging Nathaniel's public image. Edward managed a thin smile. Public relations is my job, yes, but I also want to help you both navigate this in a way that minimizes long-term damage to the family, and particularly to your child. Nathaniel, seated beside Charlotte on the couch, looked pale. He watched Edward's every move with anxious eyes, as though expecting instructions on how to fix an unfixable situation. Edward glanced at his tablet. We have a few potential strategies. One is to release a joint statement, an acknowledgement of personal struggles, a vow to work on the marriage, and a request for privacy. Another option is a press conference with you both standing together, though that might be more intense. Charlotte tensed. The mere idea of publicly standing by Nathaniel, arm in arm, felt insulting. A staged display of unity? It's too soon, she said tersely. I'm not even sure I want to save this marriage. Nathaniel inhaled sharply, pain flickering across his features, but he stayed silent. Edward shifted in his seat, then ventured, I understand, but be aware the media will speculate relentlessly. If you want to protect your child from a prolonged frenzy, a concise, composed statement might help quell the storm. She mulled over his words. The thought of her unborn child's name becoming tabloid fodder sent a shiver down her spine. What would it mean for their future? Edward continued, I also suggest you consider counseling publicly if you decide to highlight efforts at reconciliation. People admire honesty and a willingness to confront mistakes. It may sound cynical, but if handled correctly, a narrative of overcoming adversity could actually bolster both your images. Charlotte's eyes narrowed. Turn this fiasco into a sympathy campaign. Spare me. Nathaniel finally spoke, voice hoarse. I'll do whatever it takes. Therapy, statements, anything, as long as there's a chance for us. In the tense quiet, the only sound was the faint buzzing of a text alert on Edward's phone. Charlotte noticed his eyebrows knit together as he read something. Another crisis. Likely. The real crisis, however, was the shattered trust in her marriage, something no polished press release could so easily mend. Amid the media frenzy, Charlotte felt her emotional reserves draining. She spent hours holed up in the penthouse library, flipping through parenting books, but barely absorbing the words. Each page seemed to ask the same question: how can you provide a stable environment for your child when your own life is in disarray? On the third day after the scandal broke, a surprise visitor arrived, Mariana Fernandez, Nathaniel's longtime housekeeper, who had been quietly absent since the confrontation. Mariana had worked for the Harringtons for years, almost like part of the family, one who saw everything and rarely spoke out of turn. "Miss S. Harrington," she said softly, standing in the library doorway. "May I speak with you?" Charlotte put down her book on newborn care, forcing a polite smile. "Of course, Mariana. Come in." Mariana set a tray of tea on a side table. "I know it's not my place," she began, her voice laced with concern, "but I've seen how distraught you've been. I also know Mr. Harrington is in torment. He wanders at night, pacing." Charlotte looked away, tears threatening. "I appreciate your kindness, but I'm not sure there's anything you can say to fix this." Mariana hesitated before speaking again. "Perhaps not, but I want you to know I was there when Mr. Harrington first met Celeste. I accompanied him on that Silicon Valley trip. He seemed lost even before she came into the picture, always checking his phone, anxious about fatherhood, worried about something. I don't defend what he's done, but I see him punishing himself now." Charlotte sighed, her tone cooling. "He should. He lied to me. He risked our future for a thrill." "Yes," Mariana agreed solemnly, "he did. But you've always said the baby deserves a family built on love, not just appearances. Maybe it's worth seeing if there's a chance to rebuild. For the child." Charlotte squeezed her eyes shut. She had told herself the same thing late at night, wrestling with whether to walk away or attempt forgiveness. Hearing it from Mariana, someone who had witnessed their private moments, good and bad, made it all the more poignant. "Thank you," Charlotte finally replied, voice trembling. "I'm not sure what I'll do, but your words, they mean a lot." Mariana bowed her head respectfully, then quietly left the room. Charlotte stared at the tea, reflecting on the unexpected comfort. An ally in the midst of betrayal, she thought, feeling a small measure of gratitude. Yet the ultimate decision whether to stay or go still loomed like a dark cloud over her, threatening to engulf her child's future as well. While Charlotte battled her inner turmoil, Celeste Moreau navigated a different kind of fallout. Her phone buzzed incessantly with calls from gossip writers seeking exclusive interviews, brand partners worried about negative press, and even a tabloid TV show offering a large sum for a sit-down. The torrent of attention was both intoxicating and terrifying. In her penthouse suite at the Street Regis Hotel, Celeste lounged on a velvet chaise, sifting through messages on her laptop. A knock on the door startled her. She opened it to find Alexander Pierce, a high-profile investor known for playing both sides of any scandal if it served his interests. "Alexander?" she said, startled. "What are you doing here?" He slipped past her into the suite, his face set in a practiced expression of confidence. "I heard you might be in need of some assistance," he said, eyeing the plush surroundings. Celeste tensed, sensing an ulterior motive. Pierce was infamous for swooping in when powerful figures showed vulnerability. She gestured for him to sit on a settee near the window. "I'm fine," she lied. "Just dealing with the press, you know." Pierce arched an eyebrow. "Celeste, let's not play games. You're in a precarious position. Nathaniel's empire is reeling. You're at the center of the scandal, and we both know you have your own marketing startup about to launch. Negative press could scare off investors. But perhaps I can help if I see mutual benefit." Celeste's stomach tightened. "And what exactly do you want in return?" He flashed a predatory grin. "I have a few public figures who might need clever PR campaigns soon. If you handle them discreetly, I could direct significant funding your way. Also, I'd appreciate any inside information about Harrington's next moves. Let's just say I have business interests tied to his success or failure." She realized with a jolt that Pierce wanted leverage over Nathaniel. An uneasy feeling crept over her. Turning her involvement with Nathaniel's affair into a bargaining chip felt like stepping onto dangerously thin ice. Yet the lure of guaranteed funding for her startup tugged at her ambition. "I'll consider it," she replied coolly, hoping to maintain an air of control. Inside, she wrestled with guilt and greed. She had no illusions about being a moral paragon, but using this scandal to further her career was a new low, even for her. As Pierce rose to leave, he gave a final smirk. "Think fast, Celeste. Opportunities don't linger forever." He closed the door softly, leaving her in the swirl of ethical compromises. Outside, the city bustled on, oblivious to the private deals and betrayals, forging a deeper labyrinth of scandal behind closed doors. Back at the Harrington penthouse, Nathaniel wrestled with his own demons. Each passing day brought fresh headlines, each more salacious than the last. He also faced internal pressure from the boards of his companies, concerned about plummeting public confidence. The philanthropic circles that once praised him for altruism now whispered behind his back. Even a planned charity gala with Warren Buffett and Melinda Gates had been postponed, an obvious code word for cancelled due to controversy. Desperate to salvage both his marriage and his reputation, Nathaniel booked an appointment with Dr. Ashley Langford, a well-regarded couples therapist. He approached Charlotte with the proposal one morning, heart racing. "I've already set up an appointment," he said quietly, handing her a slip of paper with the date and time. "Please come." Charlotte eyed the note, her face unreadable. Part of her wanted to laugh bitterly at his newfound eagerness. Still, she found herself nodding. "All right," she said. "I'll go, but don't expect miracles." On the day of the session, the two arrived at Dr. Langford's discreet office in Midtown, stepping into a tastefully decorated room with plush chairs and soft, soothing lighting. Dr. Langford, a poised woman in her 50s, greeted them warmly. She invited them to sit, offering tea. The atmosphere encouraged honesty. Nathaniel spoke first, voice shaking slightly. He recounted the fears that had gnawed at him: pressure from investors, fear of fatherhood, the sense that everything was spiraling out of his control. Celeste, he admitted, was a reckless attempt to reclaim excitement, to feel desired without the weight of expectations. Charlotte listened quietly. When it was her turn, she unleashed a torrent of emotion: anger at his betrayal, sadness at the shattered trust, worry for their unborn child's future. She admitted she felt isolated, as if carrying the burden of their marriage and parenthood alone. Dr. Langford guided them through exercises in open communication, no interrupting, no name-calling, just raw truths laid bare. The hour ended with tears from both, but also the first faint glimmer of hope. A vow was made to attend weekly sessions. Outside the office, Charlotte kept her distance, hugging her arms around her growing belly. But there was a slight lift in her posture, a sense that maybe, if Nathaniel could show consistent remorse and effort, they could salvage some semblance of a family for their child. Nathaniel held the door, letting her exit first, aware of how fragile the moment was. He had taken a step, just one, toward redemption, but the path ahead was steep and riddled with uncertainty. Word of Nathaniel's therapy sessions with Charlotte quickly found its way into the rumor mill, though no one knew whether it signaled a genuine reconciliation or just a PR stunt. Meanwhile, Celeste Moreau discovered that not all publicity is good publicity. New potential clients approached her marketing startup, lured by her sudden fame, but many long-time business partners shied away from her homewrecker reputation. Alexander Pierce, always the opportunist, reappeared with proposals. He suggested Celeste accept a carefully orchestrated TV interview to share her side, not necessarily to disparage Nathaniel, but to tease the idea that she was misunderstood. Conflict sells, he argued, promising hefty financial backing. Despite her moral qualms, Celeste found herself drafting talking points. Midweek, Charlotte encountered an unexpected trigger, an invitation to a lavish event honoring philanthropic achievements. Her name and Nathaniel's were printed in elegant calligraphy, acknowledging a donation they'd made months ago. The memory of how proud she once felt about their charitable pursuits made her heart ache. Nathaniel brought the envelope to her with a hesitant look, as if asking, "Do we attend?" Charlotte stared at the invite. "We always planned to go," she said quietly. "Now, everything's changed." Nathaniel exhaled. Maybe it's a chance to show we're trying, or maybe it'll just stir up more gossip. "I won't push you either way." She pondered for a moment. "If we go, I want no illusions about a happy couple performance. We attend together because we're still married. Beyond that, it means nothing unless you prove otherwise." He nodded, gaze solemn, understood. Meanwhile, Vanessa Morgan stepped in to offer legal counsel to Charlotte. They meticulously reviewed prenuptial agreements, custody laws, and property assets. "Knowledge is power," Vanessa said. "If you do decide to leave, be sure you have every advantage you need." Charlotte found the process emotionally draining but necessary. She recognized that the glimmer of hope in therapy didn't wipe away her need for security. She had a child to consider. She refused to be naive again. Amid these layered tensions, Dr. Langford encouraged them to keep talking. Nathaniel began sleeping in a separate room, giving Charlotte space while trying to help with small acts of kindness, fresh fruit in the mornings, vitamins recommended by the obstetrician, or reading about parenting techniques. Little gestures like a flicker of a candle in a dark room. Charlotte appreciated them but refused to let down her guard too easily. In the background, the world kept spinning. Stocks rose and fell. The media fixated on the affair, eventually shifting attention to a fresh scandal involving a Hollywood star. But for Charlotte and Nathaniel, their private reckoning was far from over, and the biggest tests of their fragile truce still loomed on the horizon. The night of the philanthropic gala arrived with all the usual pomp and circumstance. Red carpet entrances, camera flashes, and the hum of polite small talk filled the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel. Charlotte felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She was nearing her 7th month of pregnancy, and the swirl of media attention left her on edge. Nathaniel offered his arm as they stepped out of the limousine. She hesitated, then accepted, more out of practicality than affection. Her sapphire maternity gown accentuated her baby bump, drawing respectful nods from onlookers who admired her grace under such public scrutiny. Nathaniel wore a classic black tuxedo, exuding confidence tinged with humility. He gave a tight smile to reporters but declined interviews, gently guiding Charlotte past the press line. Inside, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers, polished floors, and elegantly dressed guests. A soft piano melody wafted through the air. Charlotte tried to focus on greeting acquaintances, feeling the child shift within her. Each flutter reminded her why she was enduring this. "I'm here for our baby's future," she told herself. They were halfway through polite conversation with a philanthropic committee member when Celeste Moreau made her entrance. She wore a dazzling silver dress, her hair swept up in a French twist. A hush fell across the nearby clusters of guests as whispers circulated, "Celeste is here." Indeed, her presence at the same event felt like a provocation or a statement of resilience. Nathaniel tensed beside Charlotte, whose pulse quickened. She locked eyes with Celeste across the room, a silent standoff. In that moment, Charlotte felt a surge of both anger and pity. Did Celeste come to flaunt her hold over my husband, or is she just chasing more publicity? The tension broke when Alexander Pierce appeared by Celeste's side, whispering something into her ear. They swept past the crowd, presumably to network. Charlotte exhaled, relieved at least that Celeste hadn't approached them directly. As the evening wore on, Charlotte found a moment of solace near a grand buffet laden with gourmet dishes. She sipped sparkling water, scanning the crowd. Nathaniel approached, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Are you all right?" She turned, searching his face. "I can't do this much longer. The facade, the stress. It's exhausting." Nathaniel nodded grimly. "I know, but let's slip out soon, quietly. No need to stay until the end." Just then, Celeste materialized beside them, arms folded elegantly. "Nathaniel." "Charlotte," she greeted, her tone poised. The sparkle in her eye hinted at underlying tension. "I wanted to say hello. I never intended for things to escalate like this." Charlotte bristled, gripping her clutch. She searched Celeste's face for any sign of genuine remorse. "Well," Charlotte managed, voice clipped. "They did." An awkward silence ensued. Nathaniel stood as if pinned between them, the woman he had betrayed and the woman he had betrayed her with. The swirl of dresses and tuxedos around them felt simultaneously opulent and suffocating. Finally, Celeste dipped her head in what might have been an attempt at respect. "I'll leave you both to your evening." "Congratulations, Charlotte, on your pregnancy. Truly." With that, she vanished into the crowd. Charlotte blinked, letting out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Nathaniel touched her elbow gently. "Let's go home," he whispered. She agreed, letting him guide her out of the gala. If a turning point existed, it might be found away from the prying eyes and forced smiles somewhere they could decide if redemption was still possible or if the final fracture in their marriage had just been sealed. Back in the sanctuary of their penthouse, Charlotte kicked off her heels, wincing at the soreness in her feet. She set aside her clutch and sank onto a chaise in the living room. The lights of the city glimmered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a silent witness to her inner turmoil. Nathaniel hovered a few steps away, uncertain, hands tucked in his tuxedo pockets. Finally he approached. "I'm sorry you had to face her," he offered quietly. "I didn't expect Celeste to show up tonight." Charlotte studied him. "You don't control her actions," she said, voice heavy. "But do you realize how humiliating it was to have all those eyes on us, watching, whispering?" He dropped his gaze. "I do. I hate that I've brought this on you." Silence expanded between them. Charlotte touched her belly, feeling another fluttery kick. In that moment, the months of tension, heartbreak, and fleeting hope coalesced into a single question: do we still have a future together? Nathaniel seemed to sense her thoughts. He knelt down beside the chaise, his voice earnest. "I know you can't trust me easily, but I promise you, Charlotte, I'll keep going to therapy. I'll keep being honest with you, no matter how hard it is. I know words mean little now, but let me show you through action." She closed her eyes. Memories washed over her, the night they danced under fairy lights in the Hamptons, the morning he proposed with a trembling smile, the ultrasound appointment where they first heard the baby's heartbeat. How had it come to this? At length she spoke. "I'm not sure if I can ever look at you the same way. The betrayal runs deep, but part of me can't let go. Maybe it's foolish, but for our child's sake, I'm willing to see how your actions line up with your words." Nathaniel exhaled, relief mingling with anxiety. "Thank you," he whispered. "You won't regret it." She stood, heading toward the bedroom. "Don't make promises you can't keep," she warned softly. "We'll keep therapy sessions. We'll decide, day by day, if this marriage can be salvaged. But if you slip even once—" He rose, nodding gravely. "I understand." As she disappeared behind the bedroom door, Nathaniel was left alone, heart pounding with a mix of hope and dread. Outside, the city lights sparkled like distant stars, hinting at possibilities. Could there be redemption in the cracks of this broken marriage? Only time and the perseverance of two wounded hearts would tell. Weeks passed. The tabloids moved on to other scandals, but the echoes of betrayal lingered in the Harrington home. Charlotte and Nathaniel attended weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Langford, where they struggled to rebuild even a semblance of honesty. They tackled their deepest insecurities, his fear of fatherhood, her fear of abandonment, the shared guilt and sorrow for what had transpired. Celeste Moreau receded from Nathaniel's life. Rumor had it she struck a delicate deal with Alexander Pierce and was working on a new marketing campaign abroad. Whether she truly regretted her role in the affair remained ambiguous, but she kept her distance, and for that, Charlotte was grateful. In small ways, Nathaniel showed growth. He cancelled late-night business dinners, choosing instead to cook simple meals with Charlotte and discuss parenting classes. He surrendered all passcodes, financial statements, and travel itineraries to her. While the gesture felt invasive, it also served as a tangible reminder of his commitment to transparency. As Charlotte's belly expanded, so did her cautious sense of optimism. Though the scar from Nathaniel's betrayal would never fully disappear, she began to see glimpses of the man she first fell in love with, his gentle humor, his protectiveness, the earnest desire to shield her and their unborn child from harm. One afternoon, while organizing the nursery, Nathaniel nervously joined her. He picked up a small plush bear, running a thumb over its stitched face. "Can I help?" he asked softly. Charlotte nodded, handing him a stack of baby blankets to fold. The two worked in companionable silence, an unspoken testament to the tentative truce they were forging. Eventually, Charlotte sank onto the rocking chair, exhausted. Nathaniel crouched beside her, gazing at her swollen belly. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he whispered, pressing a palm lightly against where their baby moved. "But I'm going to spend every day fighting for it." She stared at him, tears welling in her eyes. "We can't erase the past, but maybe we can write a better future, for the baby's sake." He managed a small, hopeful smile. Outside, a golden sunset painted the sky in warm hues, filtering through the penthouse windows and illuminating them both. In that moment, the darkness of betrayal felt just a little farther away, replaced by the soft glow of a fragile, hard-earned second chance. In the end, the story of Nathaniel and Charlotte Harrington reminds us that wealth and influence offer no shelter from heartbreak. Beneath dazzling headlines and a carefully manicured public image, secrets can unravel even the most celebrated love stories. Nathaniel's indiscretion nearly destroyed their marriage, yet the arrival of their unborn child became a beacon, guiding them back toward honesty and redemption. Through wrenching confrontations, painful therapy sessions, and small but meaningful gestures of remorse, they discovered that rebuilding trust demands relentless work and a willingness to forgive what seems unforgivable. Thank you for following this dramatic tale of betrayal, love, and fragile hope. If you found yourself gripped by every twist and turn, please like this video, share it with friends who crave emotionally charged stories, and subscribe to this channel. More riveting narratives where hearts hang in the balance are on the way. Stay tuned for the next chapter in our unfolding world of drama and redemption.